The cargo hold smelled like burnt metal and fear. Owen Carter pulled his jacket tighter as he walked through the abandoned mining station, his boots crunching over broken glass and scattered equipment. 3 weeks ago, this place had 200 workers. Now it looked like a graveyard. His scanner beeped softly as he moved deeper into the facility. The company had hired him to salvage whatever equipment remained before they officially wrote the place off. Good money for a simple job, or so they said. They had not mentioned the claw marks on the walls or the blast doors ripped clean off their hinges. Everyone knew what had happened here. Vrakins, the apex predators of the outer territories. 8 limbs, armored scales harder than ship plating, and a pack hunting instinct that made them the single most feared species in known space. When they hit a settlement, they did not leave survivors to Owen's calm crackled to life. You finding anything worth a trip? His ship's AI, Iris, sounded almost bored. Just the usual mess, Owen replied, scanning a row of damaged mining drills. Nothing valuable yet. Place got hit hard. Vrakan attack's signature matches the pattern from the Frontier Wars. You should hurry. Their packs sometimes circle back to old hunting grounds. Owen knew that. Everyone who worked the outer territories knew that. He also knew he needed this job. Fuel costs kept rising, and independent haulers like him were barely scraping by debt. He moved into the lower storage bays, where the real equipment would be stored. The emergency lights flickered, casting strange shadows across the walls. Something felt wrong. Not dangerous exactly, but off. Like the whole station was holding its breath. Then he heard it. A soft whimpering sound, barely audible over the hum of failing life support. Owen froze. His hand moved to the plasma cutter on his belt, though he knew it would be useless against a full-grown Vrakan. The sound came again, weaker this time. It was coming from beneath a collapsed support beam ahead. Every instinct told him to turn around and leave. Instead, he moved forward, carefully lifting pieces of debris aside. The whimpering grew louder. Finally, he pulled away a section of twisted metal and stopped dead. A Vrakan cub lay in the wreckage. It was small, maybe the size of a medium dog, with dark gray scales that looked almost black in the dim light. 3 of its 8 limbs were pinned under the beam, and Owen could see one of its back legs bent at an unnatural angle. For eyes, normally glowing with predatory intelligence, were dim and unfocused. The cub was dying. Iris, you seeing this? Owen activated his helmet camera. There was a long pause. That is a juvenile Vrakan, approximately 3 months old based on scale development. Owen, leave it. Vrakans abandon weak or injured cubs. That is their survival strategy. The pack is long gone. Owen stared at the small creature. It looked up at him with those 4 eyes, and something in his chest twisted. He had seen that look before. Fear, pain, the desperate hope that someone, anyone, would help. I can't just leave it here to die, he said quietly. Yes, you can. You absolutely can and should. Vrakans killed thousands during the Frontier Wars. The thing will grow up to be a killing machine. Every civilized station in the sector has kill on-site orders for their species. The cub whimpered again, trying weakly to pull itself free. It was not attacking. It was not snarling or showing aggression. It was just scared and alone and dying. Owen made his decision. He set down his scanner and began carefully lifting the support beam. The cub flinched, but did not try to bite or scratch. When Owen finally pulled it free, it simply lay there, breathing in shallow gasps. He examined the broken leg as gently as he could. Definitely fractured, maybe worse. The cub was also severely malnourished. How long had it been trapped here? Owen, this is insane, Iris protested as he carefully wrapped the cub in his jacket. No station will let you dock with a Vrakan on board. You will lose your salvage license. Your friends will not understand this. Then I guess I will have to manage without them, Owen replied, carrying the small bundle back toward his ship. The cub did not struggle. It pressed against his chest, seeking warmth. Owen could feel its rapid heartbeat through the fabric. So small, so vulnerable. Nothing like the monsters from the propaganda videos. Back on his ship, Owen set up a makeshift medical bay in the cargo hold. He used a portable splint to stabilize the broken leg, following the anatomical guidelines Iris pulled up from the xenobiology database. The cub watched him with those 4 eyes, intelligent and aware despite its pain. You need a name, Owen said, mixing a basic nutrient solution. The database said young Vrakins could digest most proteins. How about Ash? Because of your scales. The cub, Ash, drank greedily from the bowl Owen offered. Some color returned to its eyes. When it finished, it curled up on the old blanket Owen had laid out, still watching him. Owen sat back, suddenly aware of what he had just done. He had rescued a Vrakin, the most hated predator species in the galaxy. Every rational part of his brain screamed that this was a mistake. But as Ash's breathing slowly steadied and those 4 eyes finally closed in exhausted sleep, Owen felt something he had not felt in years. Purpose. Iris, set course for the outer reach territories. We need somewhere quiet while Ash heals. Logging this decision under severe lapses in judgment, the AI replied. For the record, I predict this will end badly. Owen looked at the sleeping cub. Yeah, probably. But we are doing it anyway. The ship lifted off from the dead station, carrying its unusual cargo into the vast darkness of space. Behind them, the abandoned facility grew smaller. Ahead lay an uncertain future. Owen did not know it yet, but that single act of compassion had just changed the entire sector forever. 3 months had changed everything. Owen stared at the docking request, denial flashing across his screen, the 5th one this week. Station Delta 7 had just rejected his approach, citing security concerns. They had not even bothered with a polite excuse this time. Another one bites the dust, Iris announced. That makes 17 stations that have blacklisted us since you picked up your new friend. Owen glanced back at the cargo hold where Ash was sleeping. The cub had grown considerably, now roughly the size of a large dog. His broken leg had healed well, though he still favored it slightly when he moved. The dark gray scales had developed a healthier shine, and all 4 eyes were bright and alert. We will find somewhere, Owen said, though his fuel reserves told a different story. There has to be a station that will let us dock. There is. It is called Nowhere. Iris paused. Your former business partner, Rodriguez, sent another message. He says you need to get rid of the Vrakin before you lose everything. Owen had stopped reading those messages 2 weeks ago. Rodriguez, his friends from the Hauler Guild, even his cousin on the inner colonies. They all said the same thing. Get rid of Ash. Dump him on some empty moon. Turn him over to authorities. Just make the problem go away. None of them had seen what Owen saw every day. Ash was not some mindless killing machine. He learned. He adapted. He watched Owen repair the ship's systems and tried to mimic the movements with his limbs. When Owen ate, Ash waited patiently for his own food instead of attacking. He responded to basic commands, understood tone of voice, even seemed to recognize his own name. Vrakin behaviorists claimed their species could not bond with other life forms. They were wrong. A priority alert interrupted his thoughts. Galactic Council transmission, official channel. Owen's stomach sank as he opened it. The message was short and to the point. He was in violation of Containment Protocol 7 by harboring a Vrakin. He had 14 days to surrender the specimen to proper authorities or face arrest and permanent license revocation. Specimen. They called Ash a specimen. Owen deleted the message and changed course, heading away from the trade lanes toward the lawless fringe territories. If civilized space did not want them, they would go where civilization ended. Ash padded into the cockpit, moving with the fluid grace of a natural predator. He had learned to navigate the ship without knocking things over, which was impressive given his 8 limbs. He settled down beside Owen's chair, making a low rumbling sound that might have been contentment. Owen reached down and carefully scratched behind one of Ash's sensory ridges. The Vrakin leaned into the touch, eyes half closing. Another thing that should have been impossible. Wild Vrakins were hyper-aggressive, attacking anything that came near them. Ash sought out contact, craved companionship. We are heading to the fringe, Owen told him. It will not be pretty, but at least they do not ask too many questions out there. Ash's ear spines twitched, following the sound of Owen's voice. Sometimes Owen swore the Vrakin understood every word. The journey took 5 days. Owen survived on recycle rations while Ash ate the protein blocks Iris had synthesized from the medical database. They were probably terrible, but Ash did not complain. He never complained. The fringe colonies appeared on scanners like scattered sparks in the void. Lawless settlements, pirate havens, and desperate people trying to survive beyond the reach of any government. Owen had worked these territories years ago, before he found more stable routes. Coming back felt like admitting defeat. He chose a fuel station called Rusty Haven, a ramshackle collection of modules clinging to an asteroid. The docking master barely looked at his credentials before granting permission to land. Owen paid double the normal rate in untraceable credits. "Keep Ash in the cargo hold," Owen said, grabbing his jacket. "I need to find supplies and figure out our next move." "And if someone tries to board the ship?" Iris asked. Owen checked the security lock on the cargo bay door. "Then they will meet Ash. Try not to let it come to that." The station's interior was exactly as Owen remembered. Dim lighting, recycled air that tasted like oil and regret, and people who did not make eye contact. Perfect that he found a supply vendor in the lower market and started loading up on basic necessities. Fuel cells, protein stock, medical supplies. Everything cost twice what it should, but he did not argue. "You were the guy with the Vraken, right?" Owen turned to find 3 rough-looking men blocking his path. The speaker had a scar running across his face and wore a plasma pistol openly on his hip. "Station security, or what passed for it here?" "I do not know what you're talking about," Owen replied carefully. "Word travels fast out here. Human hauler with a pet monster. That is a valuable piece of cargo you got there. Some people would pay good money for a live Vraken. Research facilities, fight rings, that sort of thing." Owen's hand moved toward the plasma cutter on his belt. "The Vraken is not for sale." The scarred man grinned. "Who said anything about buying?" They moved fast, but Owen was faster. He ducked on the first grab, bringing his elbow up into someone's gut. Alarms started blaring. More people were coming. This was bad. Then the cargo bay door exploded outward. Ash burst onto the station floor like a nightmare made real. Full-grown Vrakens stood 8 feet tall. Ash was not even half that size yet, but he moved with terrifying speed, all 8 limbs propelling him forward, venomous spines extending from his back. The 3 men scrambled backward, weapons forgotten. Other station residents screamed and ran. Ash positioned himself between Owen and the attackers, for eyes blazing with protective fury. A low growl rumbled from his chest, promising violence. "Easy, Ash," Owen said, keeping his voice calm. "Easy. They are backing off. See? No threat anymore." Ash's spines retracted slightly, but he did not move from his protective stance. The scarred man and his friends retreated around a corner, suddenly very interested in being somewhere else. Station security arrived 30 seconds later, weapons drawn. They took one look at Ash, and Owen expected the worst. But the head of security, an older woman with cybernetic eyes, simply lowered her weapon. "Get your ship and get out," she said quietly, "before I have to file a report. And word of advice? Head deeper into the fringe. There are places out there where people do not care what you are hauling. Just do not bring that thing back to Rusty Haven." Owen nodded, gathering his supplies. Ash stayed close, watching everyone with suspicious eyes. They made it back to the ship without further incident. Once they were clear of the station, Owen sat in the cockpit while Ash curled up beside him. The Vraken's breathing slowly returned to normal, the tension leaving his body. "You protected me," Owen said softly. "Just like I protected you." Ash made that rumbling sound again, pressing against Owen's leg. In that moment, Owen realized something fundamental had shifted. They were not just surviving together anymore. They were family. Strange, impossible family, but family nonetheless. Iris plotted a course deeper into the fringe territories. Out there, beyond laws and regulations, maybe they could find a place to belong. Owen hoped so, because going back was no longer an option. 1 year in the fringe territories taught Owen things civilized space never could. How to navigate without official beacons. Which settlements asked questions and which did not. Where to find food when standard supplies ran out. And most importantly, how to survive alongside a creature the galaxy called a monster. Ash was adolescent now, nearly 6 feet tall when he stood on his hind limbs. His scales had darkened to deep charcoal, and his venomous spines could extend a full 6 inches. He could tear through steel plating if needed. Owen had seen him hunt local predators on resource moons, moving with deadly precision that made his Vracan heritage unmistakable. Yet every evening, Ash would curl up in the cargo hold beside Owen's bunk, making that rumbling purr sound while Owen read salvage reports. The most feared predator species in the galaxy, content to rest his head on Owen's leg while falling asleep. Their reputation had grown in the fringe. The human and his monster. Some thought Owen was insane. Others saw opportunity in the partnership. A Vracan's hunting ability, combined with human intelligence, made them perfect for jobs no one else would take. They cleared out dangerous nests, hunted rogue creatures, even provided security for settlements that could not afford proper defenses. That IT was not glamorous work, but it kept them fed and fueled. More importantly, it gave them purpose. Owen was checking inventory when Iris announced an incoming transmission. Private channel, encrypted. That was unusual. "This is Owen," he answered cautiously. The screen showed a Centaurian woman with a distinctive blue skin and silver markings of her species. She wore a research institute uniform. "Mr. Carter, my name is Dr. Yara. I'm a xenobiologist specializing in predator species. I have been following reports about you and your companion for the past 6 months. I would very much like to meet you both." Owen's hand moved toward the disconnect button. "Not interested in being studied, thanks. Please wait." Dr. Yara held up her hands. "I am not with the Galactic Council. I work independently. What you have accomplished with your Vracan is scientifically unprecedented. I simply want to understand how it is possible." "Ash is not in it," Owen said firmly. "And there is nothing to understand. I found him dying. I saved him. He stayed with me. Simple." Dr. Yara smiled gently. "Nothing about this is simple, Mr. Carter. Vracan neural architecture suggests they have the capacity for complex social bonding, but their cultural environment suppresses it completely. Raised with human compassion instead of Vracan brutality, your Ash developed differently. He became what his species could be, rather than what they are forced to be." Owen studied the Centaurian's face. She seemed genuine, and her theory aligned with what he had observed. Ash was not different because he was defective. He was different because he had been given a choice. "What do you want from us?" Owen asked. "Just observation, behavioral analysis, medical scans to ensure Ash is healthy. In return, I can provide proper veterinary care and supplies specifically designed for Vracan physiology. Your protein synthesis is adequate, but I can do better." Owen looked at Ash, who had wandered into the cockpit at the sound of voices. The Vracan tilted his head, curious but not aggressive. Making decisions for both of them had become second nature. "We are at the Broken Ring colony," Owen said finally. "DXZER. You come alone? No weapons, no security team. Ash does not trust easily." Dr. Yara arrived 6 hours later, carrying only a medical kit and research tablet. Ash tensed when she entered the ship, moving protectively closer to Owen. But the Centaurian showed no fear. She simply sat down slowly, making herself smaller, and waited. "Hello, Ash," she said softly. "You are magnificent." Ash's ear spines twitched. He looked at Owen, seeking guidance. Owen nodded slightly. After a long moment, Ash approached the doctor, sniffing carefully. Then he settled down nearby, watching her with all 4 eyes. "Doctor." Yara smiled. "Incredible. A wild Vracan would have attacked by now." Ash assessed the situation, looked to you for social cues, and made a reasoned decision. This should not be possible. Over the following days, Dr. Yara conducted her research. She scanned Ash's brain activity, documented his behaviors, and spent hours simply observing their interactions. Owen found himself explaining things he had never put into words before. How Ash learned by watching. How he understood context and emotion. How he protected Owen not out of training, but genuine loyalty. The empathy centers in his brain are fully developed, Dr. Yara explained one evening, showing Owen the scan results. In wild Vracans, these regions remain dormant. Their pack structure punishes compassion, rewards aggression. But raised in an environment where kindness is the norm, Ash's brain developed completely differently. So he is not broken, Owen said quietly. He is evolved, not genetically but socially. You gave him something no Vraken has ever had. Safety, trust, love. Dr. Yara paused. This could change everything, Owen. If one Vraken can develop this way, others could too. Before Owen could respond, alarms blared across the colony. Emergency broadcast crackled over every speaker. Vraken pack detected. Incoming attack vector. All residents evacuate immediately. Owen and Dr. Yara rushed to the viewport. In the distance, against the stars, dark shapes were moving. A full hunting pack, at least 20 strong. They were heading straight for the colony. Ash appeared beside Owen, his whole body rigid. A low growl built in his chest. He had never encountered his own kind before, not since he was an abandoned cub. His spines extended fully, every muscle tensing. "We need to leave," Iris announced. "Now, before they arrive." Owen looked at the colony. 300 people lived here. Families. Children. The colony had minimal defenses, never expecting a Vraken pack this far into the fringe. They were trapped. A doctor. Yara was already moving toward the airlock. "I need to help with the evacuation." Owen made a decision he knew was probably insane. "Iris, prep the ship's weapons." "Dr. Yara, tell the colony to shelter in place." "Owen, you cannot fight a Vraken pack," the doctor protested. "No," Owen agreed, looking at Ash. "But maybe we do not have to fight them. Maybe we can do something else." Ash met his gaze with those four intelligent eyes. Understanding passed between them. This was the moment that would define everything they had built together. "You ready, buddy?" Owen asked. That Ash's rumble sounded like agreement. Like determination. Like a predator choosing to become a protector. Together, they headed for the airlock, ready to face the nightmare that had created them both. The settlement's main plaza had become a killing ground waiting to happen. Owen stood in the center, Ash beside him, watching the Vraken pack approach through the dust. 23 of them, he counted, all full-grown, all moving with the coordinated precision that made their species legendary hunters. Behind him, the settlement's blast doors had sealed shut. 300 colonists huddled inside, waiting to see if they would survive the next hour. Owen could feel their eyes watching through the viewport windows. "This is really stupid," Iris said through his helmet comm. "For the record." "Noted." Owen replied, checking his plasma rifle. It would not do much against armored Vraken scales, but it might buy him seconds. Seconds could matter. The pack stopped 50 meters away. Their alpha moved forward, a massive creature nearly 9 feet tall with scars crisscrossing his dark scales. Battle honors from countless hunts. He stared at Owen and Ash with 4 eyes that held nothing but predatory calculation. Then the alpha's gaze fixed on Ash, and something changed. Recognition. Confusion. A Vraken standing beside prey instead of hunting it. The alpha's spines extended, a challenge display. Ash responded immediately, his own spines raising. But he did not move from Owen's side. The pack began to circle, looking for weaknesses. "They see him as wrong." Dr. Yara's voice crackled over the comm from inside the settlement. "To them, Ash's bond with you makes him defective. Weak." The alpha charged. Ash met him head-on. The 2 Vrakens collided with bone-shaking force. 8 limbs against 8, spines clashing. The alpha was larger, more experienced. But Ash fought with something the wild Vraken did not understand. Purpose beyond survival. Owen opened fire, targeting the pack members trying to flank Ash. His shots did not penetrate their armor, but the impacts made them hesitate. Confused them. Prey did not fight back like this. Prey ran. Ash and the alpha separated, circling each other. Blood ran from cuts on both their flanks. The pack watched, waiting for their leader's signal. This was not how hunts were supposed to go. Then, Ash did something unprecedented. He moved back to Owen's side instead of pressing his advantage, protecting instead of dominating. The alpha snarled, interpreting this as submission. Owen understood what Ash was doing, showing the pack a different way. But the alpha was not interested in different. He lunged again, this time focusing on Owen. Kill the weak prey, prove the old ways superior. Ash intercepted him mid-leap. They went down in a tangle of limbs and fury. The pack surged forward, ready to join the kill. Owen fired continuously, creating a barrier of plasma bolts. It would not hold for long. Inside the settlement, colonists were screaming. Some were calling for Owen to run, to save himself. Others were frozen in terror, watching the nightmare unfold. Ash was losing. The Alpha had him pinned, jaws going for his throat. Owen dropped his rifle and grabbed a thermal charge from his belt. Not enough to kill a Vraken, but enough to hurt. He threw it between the two fighters and dove backward. The explosion separated them, giving Ash room to recover. The Alpha shrieked in pain and rage. The pack went silent. Owen stood between Ash and the Alpha, plasma cutter in hand. Completely vulnerable. Completely insane. "You want him?" Owen shouted. "You go through me first." The Alpha stared at him. The pack stared. This made no sense in their understanding of the universe. Prey did not protect predators. The strong did not stand with the weak. Ash pulled himself up, bleeding but unbowed. He moved beside Owen again, both of them facing the pack together. Human and Vraken. Predator and prey. Family. Something shifted in the plaza. The pack members began making confused sounds, looking to their Alpha for guidance that was not coming. The Alpha himself seemed uncertain for the first time. His prey had become incomprehensible. Doctor. Yara's voice came through the comm again. "Owen, they're confused. Vraken pack dynamics are based on clear hierarchies and roles. You have disrupted the pattern. Keep disrupting it." Owen's mind raced. Disruption. Change the rules of engagement. He lowered his weapon and stepped forward, hands open. Ash tensed, but did not stop him. The Alpha's eyes tracked every movement. "We do not want to fight you," Owen said, knowing the Vraken could not understand his words but might read his intent. "There is enough here for everyone. Food, shelter, we can share." The Alpha's head tilted slightly. Confusion. The concept of sharing prey was alien to Vraken thinking. Owen continued. "Ash was abandoned like your kind abandons all weak cubs. I did not abandon him. I raised him. He is stronger for it, not weaker." Ash moved forward, standing level with Owen now. He made a series of sounds, clicking and growling in patterns. Vraken communication. Owen did not know their language, but Ash had heard it in his earliest memories. He was trying to speak to his own kind. The pack shifted uneasily. Several of the younger members backed up slightly. The Alpha remained rigid, his entire worldview being challenged. Then one of the pack members, smaller than the others, made a submissive posture. Not to the Alpha, to Ash. Recognizing something in him beyond simple strength, the Alpha saw it and roared in fury. He charged one final time, determined to end this challenge to his authority. Ash met him again, but this time several colonists threw open the settlement doors. Armed humans poured out, not to kill the pack, but to stand beside Owen and Ash, creating a wall of unity between species. The Alpha stopped mid-charge, completely bewildered. His pack was fracturing, some members backing away from the settlement entirely. Others were watching Ash with what might have been curiosity. The battle was over, though no one had won in the traditional sense. The Alpha, seeing his pack's cohesion breaking, made a tactical retreat. He gathered those still loyal and withdrew into the dust. But 7 pack members remained behind, watching from a distance. Owen collapsed to his knees, exhaustion hitting him all at once. Ash nuzzled against him, whimpering softly. The Vraken was covered in cuts and bites, but he was alive. They both were. The colonists surrounded them carefully, maintaining distance but showing clear gratitude. They had just watched the impossible. A human and a Vraken fighting together, protecting instead of predating. Doctor. Yara rushed out with medical supplies. "You did it. You actually did it." 7 members stayed. 7 Vrakens choosing to remain near a settlement instead of attacking it. Owen looked at the 7 distant shapes. They were not tame. They were not safe. But they were curious, questioning their nature for the first time. "Get on record," Owen said quietly. "Every second of this. The galaxy needs to see what just happened." Within hours, the footage was spreading across the sector. A human defending a Vraken. Colonists standing beside them both. a pact fracturing because one member showed them a different path. The Galactic Council's containment protocols suddenly looked less like protection and more like prejudice. Everything was changing. The sector would never be the same. The neutral station hung between three territorial zones, belonging to no single species. It served as the Galactic Council's meeting place when decisions affected everyone. Owen had never expected to set foot in such a place. Now he stood in a waiting chamber, watching delegates from 40 species gather beyond the glass. Ash pressed against his leg, nervous. The Vraken had healed from the fight at the colony, but scars marked his scales. Battle honors, though not the kind his species traditionally valued. "They are ready for you," a security officer announced. Her three eyes showed clear discomfort at Ash's presence. The doctor, Yara, appeared beside them, carrying her research tablet. "Remember, stay calm. Let the evidence speak." Owen nodded, though his stomach churned. The council had summoned him after the colony footage went viral. 3 billion viewers across the sector had watched a human and Vraken stand together. Now the galaxy demanded answers. The council chamber was enormous, tiered seats rising in concentric circles. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat watching, their faces ranging from curious to hostile. At the center podium stood the council arbiter, a Centaurian elder with silver skin and ancient eyes. Owen Carter, the arbiter's voice echoed through the chamber. "You stand accused of violating Containment Protocol 7 by harboring a Vraken designated as hostile fauna. How do you answer?" "Guilty," Owen said simply. "I rescued an abandoned cub. I raised him. I do not regret it." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Several delegates activated their translation devices, conferring with aides that a core vaccine delegate stood, his red scales flashing with agitation. "My people lost 17 colonies to Vraken attacks during the Frontier Wars. Thousands dead. You expect us to believe that creature is safe? I expect you to look at the evidence," Owen replied. He gestured to Dr. Yara, who activated her presentation. Holographic displays filled the chamber, showing brain scans, behavioral analysis, and footage of Ash's development. The Centaurian scientist spoke clearly, explaining neuroplasticity and social learning, how environment shaped behavior more than genetics alone. Ash developed empathy centers that remained dormant in wild Vrakens, Dr. Yara concluded. He's not an anomaly. He is proof that their species has untapped potential. Potential for what? Another delegate demanded. To infiltrate our settlements? To pretend domestication before attacking? Before Owen could respond, the chamber doors opened. Security officers stepped aside, and Ash walked in. Panic erupted. Delegates scrambled backward. Alarms blared. Security personnel drew weapons, targeting systems locking onto Ash. "Hold your fire," the arbiter commanded, though even his voice shook slightly. Ash moved calmly to Owen's side, ignoring the weapons aimed at him. He sat down, for eyes scanning the chamber with intelligent curiosity. Every movement was controlled, deliberate, non-threatening. The arbiter studied Ash for a long moment. "This is the Vraken in question?" "His name is Ash," Owen said firmly. And yes, a small movement caught everyone's attention. A junior aide, barely more than a child in Tyrillian years, had wandered too close to the main floor. She lost her footing on the smooth surface and fell, crying out. Ash moved before anyone could react. He crossed the distance in 3 bounds, but instead of attacking, he gently helped the child up with his front limbs. He checked her for injuries with careful movements, then guided her back toward her guardian. The chamber went absolutely silent. The child's guardian, a senior Tyrillian delegate, stared at Ash with wide eyes. "He saved her. He protected her," Owen corrected, "because that is what Ash does. He protects." The core vaccine delegate stood again, his anger tempered now. One trained specimen does not represent an entire species. Vrakens are killers. So were humans once, Owen said quietly. When we first reached the stars, other species saw us as violent primitives from a death world. We fought wars, destroyed our own planet, killed each other over resources. But you gave us a chance. You let us prove we were more than our worst instincts. He moved closer to the center podium. Vrakins do not abandon weak cubs because they are evil. They do it because their environment is brutal. Survival of the strongest is not cruelty, it is desperation. But given a different environment, raised with compassion instead of violence, they become something else entirely. Dr. Yara activated another display, showing the 7 Vrakins who had remained near the colony. These individuals are still wild, but their behavior has changed. They avoid the settlement instead of attacking it. They hunt local fauna, but leave the colonists alone. One member even helped a human child who fell into a ravine last week. Influenced by Ash's example, the arbiter observed. Exactly, Owen said. One Vrakin choosing differently made 7 others question their nature. Imagine what we could accomplish if we tried helping them instead of just killing them. A new delegate stood, representing the Vrakin Containment Coalition. You propose we rescue their cubs? Risk our people to save creatures that would destroy us? Owen looked at Ash, then back at the assembly. I propose we give them the same chance you gave humanity. Not friendship, not trust, just opportunity. Rescue abandoned cubs. Raise them in controlled environments. Study them. Learn from them. If it works, we gain a powerful ally. If it fails, we have lost nothing we would not have killed anyway. The debate raged for hours. Some delegates supported the idea, intrigued by the scientific possibilities. Others demanded Ash's immediate termination, seeing only danger. The chamber split into factions, arguing precedent and protocol. Finally, the arbiter called for silence. This council has witnessed unprecedented events. A Vrakin showing loyalty, compassion, and restraint. A human willing to risk everything for an abandoned creature. The question before us is simple. Do we respond to the unknown with fear or with curiosity? He looked directly at Owen and Ash. The council proposes a compromise. The Vrakin designated Ash may live under your guardianship. However, you must assist in establishing an experimental rehabilitation program. Abandoned Vrakin cubs will be rescued and raised in controlled conditions. If they develop, as Ash has, we reconsider their species classification. If they prove dangerous, the program ends. Owen felt relief wash through him. It was not perfect, but it was a chance. One condition, the arbiter continued. You must also work with wild packs. Study them. Document their behavior. Help us understand if change is possible beyond individual cases. Owen looked at Ash, who gazed back with those 4 intelligent eyes. They had come so far together. From an abandoned cub on a dead station to this moment, changing galactic policy. We accept, Owen said. The arbiter nodded. Then by the authority of this council, the Vrakin Rehabilitation Initiative is hereby established. May wisdom guide our path forward. As delegates filed out, some approached Owen personally. A few wanted to understand his methods. Others warned of challenges ahead. But several, including the Trillian whose child Ash had helped, offered genuine support. Dr. Yara was already making plans. We will need a facility, trained staff, security protocols. This is going to be enormous. Owen knelt beside Ash, scratching behind his sensory ridges. What do you think, buddy? Ready to help more cubs like you? Ash's rumbling purr filled the chamber. Ready. Always ready. The sector was changing. Not quickly, not easily, but genuinely. And it had all started with one human refusing to abandon a dying cub. 5 years transformed impossible dreams into living reality. Owen stood on the observation deck of the sanctuary, watching 23 Vrakins move through the compound below. Some were hunting in the controlled wilderness zones. Others were training with their human caretakers. A few of the youngest cubs played together, their movements still clumsy but full of innocent energy. Ash stood beside him, fully grown now at 8.5 feet tall. Scars from countless missions marked his scales, but his 4 eyes remained bright and curious. He had become something the galaxy never imagined possible. Not just a trained Vrakin, but a leader. Morning count looks good, Dr. Yara said, joining them on the deck. All 23 residents are healthy. The newest arrival, Ember, is already responding to basic commands. She was only 2 weeks old when the recovery team found her. Owen watched the small gray cub tumbling with another young bracken. Any word from the Frontier Coalition? They are sending 3 more abandoned cubs next month. That makes 42 total recoveries since the program started. Dr. Yara smiled. We are running out of space. It had not been easy. The first year was filled with failures and setbacks. 2 rescued cubs could not overcome their violent instincts and had to be relocated to isolated facilities. Several staff members quit after close calls. Funding nearly collapsed when a senator's child was injured during a controlled interaction, though the Vraken involved had been trying to play, not attack. But slowly, evidence accumulated. Cubs raised with compassion developed the same neural patterns as Ash. They bonded with caretakers. They learned to distinguish play from hunting. They showed genuine affection and loyalty. The Vraken species was not inherently evil. They were products of a brutal evolutionary environment, capable of change when given the chance. Owen, we have a situation, Iris announced through the facility's communication system. The Wild Pack monitoring team needs you at the northern perimeter. Owen and Ash headed for the transport, Dr. Yara following. The sanctuary occupied an entire moon, with vast wilderness areas where rescued Vrakens could develop natural behavior safely. But the northern region bordered true wild territory, where uncontacted packs still hunted traditionally. The monitoring team waited at the perimeter fence, their equipment tracking a nearby pack. The lead researcher, a young human named David, looked excited rather than worried. You need to see this, David said, pulling up thermal imaging. That pack has been shadowing us for 3 days. But look at their behavior. The images showed 8 Vrakens moving parallel to the fence line. Traditional hunting formations, but they were not attacking. They were watching, observing. They are learning, Owen realized. Watching how our Vrakens interact with humans. More than that, David zoomed in on one individual. That alpha there? We identified him from scars. He was part of the pack you confronted 5 years ago at that colony. He stayed wild, but his behavior has changed. His pack has not attacked a single settlement in 2 years. Ash moved to the fence, making low clicking sounds. The wild pack froze, hearing one of their own speaking from beyond the barrier. The alpha approached slowly, cautiously. For several minutes, Ash and the wild alpha communicated in ways Owen still did not fully understand. Vraken language was complex, mixing sound, posture, and sense signals. But the intent was clear. Ash was showing the alpha that survival did not require constant violence. The wild pack withdrew peacefully, disappearing into the wilderness. But something fundamental had shifted. They had chosen to observe rather than attack. Question rather than kill. It is spreading, Dr. Yara whispered. The behavioral changes are spreading to wild populations through contact with our Vrakens. Owen felt the weight of what they had accomplished. 23 Vrakens in the sanctuary. 42 total rescues across multiple facilities. Wild packs altering their behavior. Trade routes, once abandoned due to Vraken danger, were being reconsidered. Scientific papers were being published. Other predator rehabilitation programs were starting. All because he had refused to let one cub die alone. That evening, Owen sat in the central courtyard while young Vrakens played around him. Ash supervised them like a protective parent, gently correcting rough play before it became dangerous. Several human caretakers worked nearby, comfortable enough now to turn their backs on the predators that a transport arrived carrying delegates from the Galactic Council. They came monthly now, observing progress and adjusting policies. The lead delegate, the same Corvaxian who had lost 17 colonies, approached Owen. My government has made a decision, the Corvaxian said. We are establishing our own rehabilitation facility. We want to try raising Vraken cubs ourselves. Owen stood, hardly believing what he heard. The species that hated Vrakens most was now willing to help them. We remember what you said at the hearing, the delegate continued, about giving them the chance others gave humanity. We thought about that, about how many species feared us once, until they gave us opportunities to prove ourselves. He paused. Perhaps we owe the Vrakens the same courtesy. After the delegates left, Owen found himself alone with Ash under the moon's artificial stars. The Vraken rested his massive head on Owen's shoulder, a gesture of trust and affection. "We did it, buddy," Owen said softly. "We actually changed things." Ash made his rumbling purr, the sound of contentment, of home, of family. Owen thought back to that abandoned mining station 5 years ago. The dying cub trapped under debris. The choice to save instead of leave. Every rational voice had told him it was a mistake. Every logical argument said Vrakens were irredeemable. But compassion was not about logic. It was about seeing potential where others saw only danger. About choosing hope over fear. In the courtyard, a young cub brought Owen a piece of synthetic prey from training exercises, offering it like a gift. Owen accepted it gravely, and the cub made a happy chirping sound before running back to play. These Vrakens would never hunt settlements. They would protect them instead. They would show the galaxy that the most feared predators could become the most dedicated guardians. And through them, wild packs would slowly learn different ways of surviving. The sector had changed. Not completely. Not perfectly. There were still incidents, still setbacks, still species who would never trust Vrakens. But change had begun, spreading like ripples across still water, and it would continue spreading. More cubs rescued, more facilities built, more minds changed, more lives saved on both sides. Owen looked at Ash, seeing not a monster, but a friend, a partner, family. The galaxy had called him crazy for saving a Vraken. Maybe he was, but sometimes crazy was just another word for hopeful. And hope, Owen had learned, was the most powerful force in the galaxy. It could transform killers into protectors, turn enemies into allies, change the future of an entire species. All because one human refused to abandon a dying cub. All because one Vraken chose to trust instead of attack. Together, they had shown the sector that nothing was unchangeable. That compassion could bridge any divide. That family was not about species or biology, but about choice and commitment. The moon's sun set slowly, casting long shadows across the sanctuary. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More cubs to rescue. More wild packs to study. More hearts and minds to change. But tonight, Owen sat peacefully with Ash and the growing family they had built. A human and 23 Vrakens, proving that the impossible was just the difficult waiting for someone brave enough to try. The sector would never be the same. And that was exactly as it should be.